got it.
Tonight.
Hmm.
To
Over
tonight.
there. Over there.
Over
Tomorrow.
there.
Or is that yesterday?
I hear they eat
It's
babies and
actually like
screw dogs. That's bad, right? We're going to talk about 2019's JoJo Rabbit, a tour de force from the guy who also brought us Ragnarok, but then also brought us Love and Thunder. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Uh, really great movie, in my opinion, but let's not bury the lead. But let's also bury the lead. Joe, you hate
Yeah.
comedies. Go ahead and rate and grade this movie.
All right. I mean, fuck this movie, right? I mean, this movie was about some of the dumbest shit. I mean, a make believe Hitler, little idyllic child Nazis. No, uh, it wasn't bad. I picked this movie, obviously because Russ raved about it because he's a Nazi lover. So that makes
Oh,
sense.
come
Had
on
never
now.
seen it before. Had never heard it about it other than you guys talking about it. Nobody in my life other than you two's ever mentioned it. Period. I don't know what commentary there is there, but it's probably something.
And now, do you want to
Overall,
share it with your loved ones?
yeah, dude, I want to sit my kids down and expose them to the wonderful world of imaginary Hitler and propagandized information about an entire group of people. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome parenting move.
I mean,
No, I mean, in
better
the
than
grand scheme of
not.
things, if I had watched this movie 2 years ago, I'd have nothing but shit to talk. Now that we talk every week about movies and I'm forced to revise the experience that I have when I view movies because of you two guys. There's some good parts to it. I like the acting. A lot of really funny little one-liner throwaways that are little just great little nuggets and references. Um
I think you'll find that metal is the
Subtly.
strongest thing in the world.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut it short because there's lots to say about this movie. I'm gonna say it's a B minus, which is higher than the C plus I wanted to give it, but just talking about it made me move it up a grade. So B minus. You know, it's got some redeeming factors to it. Maybe not
I
the
mean, a
way
B
I'd have
minus
gone.
says that it's got a lot of redeeming factors to it, which I would agree.
I mean,
But
Hitler got, booted in the end, which is better than any other Hitler movie we've done. So we're already winning. Like we're already ahead of the curve.
he dies in all the movies that we've done.
Oh, I know, but imaginary Hitler gets the boot, like the literal boot.
the
That
literal
one
boot
didn't
through
die.
the window, pretty great
Mm-hmm.
scene.
Yeah.
Russ, why don't you regale us
Um,
with your tales of what this movie means to you?
well, you
And
know
also
me.
provide a
If
letter
it's
grade in case that wasn't implied.
if it's a comedy and Joe has bad things to say about it, I think it's amazing. So this
and Hitler's
movie,
in it, so we already
yeah,
know.
Hitler is in it as the villain and nobody likes him. So I agree with that. Anyways, this movie, I I honestly wouldn't change a thing about it. I don't think they did
Mm.
anything wrong. It had a good story that was like a very different view on World War II. It's from the German perspective. A, it was a comedy. B, and it was from a child's point of view. And like his
See,
mother is,
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
C,
see.
D. His mother's doing something that you don't normally see in these movies, and like so many layers. And then, but overall, it's a funny movie. It's a fun movie for the most part. It's got like one scene that's really hard. Um, I love it. It's great. I have a hard time saying A plus though, so I'm gonna give it an A. I There's nothing I'd change about it. I'd highly recommend it to anyone. I don't know why it's not an A+, but it's just not. It's an A.
Gotcha.
I wish
All
I
right.
wish I could get a sound bite of every time on our show Russell has said it's a unique perspective on World War such and such. And you get to see it from the Germans'
That's happened.
perspective.
That's happened twice. That's happened twice.
It's
Downfall
only
was a
been
unique
twice.
perspective.
I bet it's at least 20. 20 came
We
up earlier.
haven't even done that many.
I remember the Patriot. He came out with that.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Dude,
This is a unique
when we were
perspective.
doing we were
Actually,
doing
Starship
waiting, I was
Troopers
like,
was the
where
opposite.
does
He
this
would
come from?
not agree with the fact that. Anyway, I honestly I find one, and this is going to be a hot take that I'm sure we'll talk about. I find this movie has one major flaw. I actually started writing down what's a plus and a minus. Sorry, my ankle really itched. As I was watching the movie, and there's only a couple of things that I think take away. I really feel like it's really well written. All the throwaway lines that are just fucking hilarious. Rebel Wilson, who I'm usually not a gigantic fan of, really funny in this. Her line about the what a year to be a girl uh really made me
Dude,
laugh.
I wrote that
Dude,
I've had 18 kids for Germany. Such a great
that's
year
right.
to be a girl.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Oh my god. I thought
her
that was
presenting herself and like sticking out her tongue and being gross looking
yes.
was
Yeah,
great.
she was really good in this, really funny. All the acting I really loved except for one. I feel that there was a major role in this movie that was miscast. I don't find her to fit in well in the movie, and that I would throw it
brought
out there that
brought your grade down to
Scarlett Johansson could be
okay.
replaced by many other actresses, and it would have elevated this movie to an A+. But the soundtrack, I mean, three different
I mean,
German songs from very popular artists. The fact that they do Tom Waits' I Don't Want to Grow Up during the Hitler Youth Camp when they're all having a blast, really perfect. Just his choice for a lot of different songs. Heroes to close it out, phenomenal. So I would say this movie is like one of the most solid Bs I would ever experience. It's a joy to watch, but I
Scarlett
find that
Johansson takes it
she's
down
not
all the
that
way to a
great in
B.
this. I feel like her attempt at the accent is the first chink in the armor, and then just her acting I don't think fits in with what everybody else is doing.
See, and I disagree. I would
I,
feel like her acting is actually yeah, because you have to take in the viewpoint of the movie, right? The viewpoint's from this propagandized child,
Right?
and his
yeah,
mother is a Jewish sympathizer in Nazi Germany
Mm-hmm.
who knows that she has a propagandized child.
Right. And can't convert him for fear of what he would do. Get it? I
Right.
get it.
Right. So that role in itself provides to illustrate the underlying illustration and intention for the film of that was what it was like. I mean, you couldn't trust any fucking buddy because they'd turn you in. They'd pick up the fucking phone. I mean, they did an excellent job of illustrating all of that. And I would argue that her role being that disconnect is, that's what they looked for. That's what they found. That's what they rooted out was that. And it was illustrated again by the fact that she got, caught.
Right.
yeah.
Do you
I
think
agree
when
with
Stephen
Joe.
Merchant shows up? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Russ.
I agree with Joe.
See,
Write down today's date, people.
made him say it twice. I love it.
No, I definitely agree with him. I felt like I just gotta say everything you said was wrong. I feel she was so charming in her role when she dances with herself when she's drinking alcohol to save bread for somebody else. Like, and the whole movie is a satire. It's supposed to be kind of funny and not really 100% accurate. Like, obviously, she's not gonna, meet in the middle ground with her son on a lot of things in real life. But for the story, they did that. And I felt like that funny element, she was delivering that funny element very well for me, of someone who's like gonna meet her son in the middle on all this crazy shit. She's like, he's a Nazi sympathizer. He loves Nazi propaganda and all this stuff that just, but I love him. He's my son. Like, I don't know. I thought she did it well, and I thought she was very charming, and she wasn't just that hot chick that walks around in latex like she always is.
Honestly, I kind
Right.
of
No,
disliked her.
definitely didn't bring a lot of that, which is great. But I don't know. There are many instances where I feel like she takes me out of it, where it's like, this is not, and again,
That's what it was
her
designed to
trying to do
do.
the accent.
Her role was designed to take you out of it and make you realize that inside this satirical viewpoint from this propagandized child, there's this mother who and you could make an argument both ways. She's either trying to maintain an attachment with her child in a world that's made that exceptionally difficult, or let's even take it to a darker stroke, that she's using him as her cover. Like, she has deliberately created this over propagandized child to be her cover story. He's super visible. He's in the fucking, the Young Nazis Club, whatever the fuck that was.
Hitler Youth, Hitler Youth Corps, man.
Hitler Youth Corps.
That's crazy
I
shit.
will agree with
Boys
Ben.
from Brazil, take care of the clones.
Yeah.
Ben,
Somebody has to walk the clones. Those are actually the main character. What's his name? Roman Griffin Davis, twin brothers of his that they duplicate to make the clones. I thought that was a pretty cool little thing.
It was fantastic.
Ben, I will agree. She probably wasn't like the number one choice for the role, but I wouldn't knock it down saying that she was bad at the role. I think she did a good job, and I did like seeing her do it, because we're pretty used to seeing Scarlett Johansson in certain roles, and
Like,
honestly,
I don't know.
sad.
I felt that straddling that line between serious and comedic, really, I wanted more serious out of that role. I wanted a little more life lesson, a little more gravitas for what she was bringing, rather than just kind of being this, mom figure that he figured out was a Jewish sympathizer, so he started giving her major attitude. And that turn is interesting. And the bicycle scene when they're out, and he specifically is showing her shoes, and they do the bicycle thing.
Go kiss
That
your
is
mothers.
actually, I feel like, yes, I feel like that was a really well done sequence. But a lot of the other stuff, I don't know. She just, honestly, and I know, again, hot take, but the whole soot across the face.
I was hoping you were going to bring it up. All right, let's talk about it.
I don't know.
Love that
I did
scene.
not find that scene to be up to the standard of a lot of the other scenes that were in there. It wasn't as hard hitting as I wanted it to be. At the beginning, it is. When she pounds on the table and scares him, I'm like, here we go. Here's some serious shit about to happen. And it just kind of, I don't know. And again, the end of that scene where he's dancing with her on the chair, very tender, very nice. But the meat in the middle of the two pieces of bread just didn't bring me what I wanted.
What do you think, Russ?
I think that scene really emphasized their whole relationship for me, where she brought the fist down. She said, "I am the parent," and she gave him that jolt moment, but that her way of getting through to her kid and having a relationship with her kid is kind of quirky and funny. And it's so obvious, like, yeah, he knows that my mom is acting in front of me and
Oh yeah, but in that
pretending to
opening,
be
friggin'
bad for me.
slapping those hands on the table, dude, she channeled so much masculine energy. It wasn't even funny. It made me want to admit I was lying.
Yeah, I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
That was the
no.
important,
I mean,
like,
she friggin' delivered.
that, that was the
Yeah, I
important,
just
like,
wanted
I,
that energy to continue. That's all
see,
I'm
I
saying.
didn't. I felt like that wasn't this movie. This movie was supposed, like, did you see Sam Rockwell? It had little moments of really heartfelt truths
Dude.
and like
Ugh.
at the end when he's dressing him up and like saying I'm gonna go die for you and all that. But for the most part, Sam Rockwell is just funny from start to finish. Rebel Wilson is
Right.
just funny from start to finish.
Yes.
And I think Scarlett Johansson fit in with the movie
She
as
was
being
the serious role.
quirky. She was more serious than most of them, and she didn't
Well, I
detract
mean,
from it being comedy.
the what's her name? Thomason McKenzie, the Jew girl in the wall. Uh,
Right.
I
She
know
was the
about your
most
Jew girl in the
serious.
wall.
The glory hole Jew?
She is the
Jesus Christ,
serious
man.
role.
Right.
Well,
I wrote down my favorite quotes while I was watching it. My favorite
yeah.
quote from her, well, she had two, but wasn't necessarily funny. It was her saying, "Maybe we are all ghosts and we just don't know it." Like that was a serious moment
Mhm.
of her saying, like, we're all Bruce Willis in I See Dead People, and I it made you think it, and it was dark, and she was the really dark element to the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
Eh,
she's the personification. 6 million Jews, 3 million Polish gypsies, gays. He killed off 2/3 of the Jewish population of Europe and put a serious dent in anybody else he didn't like. Yeah, no, it's a serious fucking subject. So, I mean, this movie is super charming, very very funny, and really well done. But I felt like it deserves something to really hammer, and you know, it
that
gives a lot.
wasn't this movie though. So I'm gonna loop that
You're
comment
right.
back to because I didn't want to. I still wanted to make my comment on ScarJo doing the dad role, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it ties back into what you just said, which was wanting that. And I hear you, right? Like you want that. You want a little bit of that Schindler's List punch, just a little bit,
Just a
because of
little
how
bit.
horrific, just because of how horrific everything is.
Who really wants that in their lives, though?
I mean, when you're seeing a story about the most horrific part of human history, I'll easily posit that this is the worst event that's ever occurred in recorded human history. Easily.
I mean, the Mayans could probably give it a run for their money when they were. Anyway,
I mean,
that's not this
that's
show.
that's fair. But still, marched by the hundreds of thousands and millions into an oven. Regardless,
I
um,
can see Russ Googling what's the worst thing in human history.
No, I know that there's two. There's two that's are worse than World War II.
Well, we'll have that
Noah's
discussion in
Ark.
a second because the point I wanted to
Anyway,
make
go ahead.
was that was the scene. That was the scene to give you the punch. And I think they were really awesome in approaching it from that direction of this woman is and her husband, apparently, which you find out later, are both Jewish sympathizers working
Mm-hmm.
against the Nazi regime. And again, the incredible pressures of living in that environment creates a
Yeah,
situation where she's got an ultra propagandized son.
right.
And
Crazy to
again, the
even
movie
call
was the,
them. Yeah,
the movie was all from his perspective. That I guess that's what I'm trying to get back to is that scene seen from his perspective is as dark as it's going to get up until the literal running and dying in the streets and all right, real world has officially set in, mom's dead, up until they hang his mother. And I feel like that's the punchline. I feel like the dad scene was the intro of, all right, hey, look, this is actually some dark shit going on. I'm gonna chew these grapes for dinner. When she first slaps the table, I was like, oh, she's gonna give him the freaking violent Nazi dad role play. But she didn't. She gave him
No.
the
Instead,
what
she's
my
his mom.
dad. Well, no, she gave him what his dad probably was, because his dad's in the trenches fighting on behalf of the Jews. So like when she does the opening scene and then she goes over to the fireplace and has a conversation with, I yelled at the kid. I wasn't ready for that. I'll admit. Like I was with you guys when she slapped her hands on the table. I was like, oh, next it's coming the backhand. She's gonna freaking knock him out that fucking chair and be like, this is what you want? You want your dad to be home? Fucking go to bed, you bitch. Fucking go talk to your pretend Nazi. Go talk to your pretend Hitler. Get the fuck out of here. And then went and had a little dialogue and came back. No, dude. Like I was like, oh, okay. There's something more going on. And then the gut punch for me was him standing up and looking over and seeing her untied shoe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no.
I
The way
mean, and
and
that
the
was
fact that
just like,
he's in kind of a little bit of a mirth right there. He's kind of
oh yeah,
happy for just a
following the
moment.
the
And then
butterfly, dude,
yeah, that's a powerful
total
scene.
total dick punch. And
Yep.
and then the
Agreed.
whole taste and flavor of the movie changes from there forward.
Yep.
And they did an excellent job keeping it funny, keeping it upbeat. After
Dude.
that dark of a scene, to turn it around and still, and the freaking captain covering for the Jew when she acts as a sister.
Uh-huh. Oh, dude, and when he strips him of his jacket at the end is like the final, like,
Oh,
you choke up at that moment.
dude, that
Uh,
was like that was literally his coming of age moment. That was like when he
yep.
finally realized he was a man. Like this freaking guy it's the boy who blew himself up. What did they call
Yeah.
him? Not
Jojo
Jojo
Rabbit.
Rabbit. Wait, well, no, but the grenade boy. He had so many
Was there a name for
derogatory
that?
references.
I don't know, but I wanted to ask, Russ, how many times have you been told to go play with your imaginary Nazi? All right, let's stop talking about the only thing wrong with this movie, in my opinion. Let's start talking
Hey,
about all the
wait.
good shit with this movie.
It was Mao and Stalin. They're worse.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, what
I
they
mean,
did to the Russian people, right?
yeah,
so Mao killed the most people ever. Stalin killed the second most. Hitler, the way he targeted the Jews was the most like vindictive and kind of evil, just
yeah,
focused
It was the most
genocide.
targeted evil, and
Yeah.
I think that moves it up past general evil.
I mean,
I would argue that he leapfrogs those two just because of how specific it was,
I
and
don't know. I
and
think
not only that, but just how systematic it was. Like you can talk about those other two situations, but even in those other two situations, they were not being rounded up by the hundreds of thousands and literally marched into an oven.
no, that's not true. They basically were minus the oven, but I think what it comes down to is Hitler was very specifically targeting a population of people that was smaller,
hmm
and because of that, like I think
and his reason, to
he would
me,
have
his
beat him out.
reasoning for it, to when you look at the history, and it's like he grew up to where he was poor and he saw all these rich Jewish merchants and decided, why should they get it? Well, they got it because of their hard fucking work. They didn't get it because they took it away from you. Anyway, that's not. We'll dive into that later. Let's talk about some funny shit. Uh,
Right.
the his buddy. Let's talk about Yorkie. What's his name? Is it Yorkie? Holy shit, that
It's
kid's
Yorkie.
funny in this, dude. He's got
Yeah.
so many good lines. When he finds him and he fucking drops the bazooka, like
Yeah.
that brings you right back to the comedy of it after such a serious, heavy time. That dude, this movie without that kid would be really, really different. I feel like he does when he throws the knife and it bounces off the tree
Yeah,
and
sticks in that
stabs the
other
other
guy's
kid.
leg. Yeah, that was great.
Dude,
Fucking hilarious.
JoJo, and then he blows
Yeah,
up a store, and he's just like, "Oh no!"
yeah. When JoJo gets blown up by the grenade, and then it's that scene of him coming to and the people, and he just screams this high pitched fucking scream and then backs off. Ah, so funny. That kid was phenomenal.
when
Archie
he's
Yates is his
when
name.
he's downloading basically information into JoJo at the end of the movie, he's like, "Hey, we were all duped," and he's just like, "Oh yeah, turns out Hitler, he kind of lied to us a lot. He's a really bad guy. A lot. Some people are upset about it," and
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah,
I don't give a shit about anything ever. I'm just running around in my uniform and being this
yeah.
little kid.
Well, dude,
It's a bad time to be a Nazi.
how crazy would it have been for the youth in Nazi Germany during this time? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I
the
think
shit
that's
you
the
believe.
perspective that this movie really does well, and
Agreed.
in a way that's palatable, right? Like avoiding
Right,
all of the horror. And again, coming back to my point that it's all shot from the kid's perspective.
right.
You know, he doesn't know that there's all this horror going on. All he knows is that he's got his mom and
Yeah.
his dad's away doing what he needs to do, and he's got
The
his
Germans are
friends.
great. Yeah.
Germans are great. You know, Hitler's fantastic. You know, most kids have imaginary friends. In this instance, it's an imaginary Hitler. You know, the imaginary Hitler being excited about him going to the library and reading
Oh
books
yeah.
and writing a book.
Oh yeah. Dude,
That
I
was
feel like
so great.
it so this movie is based on a book. Imaginary Hitler is not in the book, but Taika Waititi adapted the book for the movie, and I feel like I wonder if there was even a time where he did a casting call for Hitler because nobody else could have captured the way he portrays Hitler in this but himself. I feel like when I watch it, when he's running with the grenade and he's doing the side
Yeah, do
dance,
it.
and then the very beginning scene when he's pumping him up, it's like, dude, who else could have captured that in exactly that way? Only the guy who had it in his head when he was writing it down really did service to this guy. All in doing the research too, really funny that there's actually a quote about him saying, I didn't really want to research Hitler. He's a fucking cunt. I don't want to give him any credit. I don't want to portray him correctly. And the whole offering of cigarette and then eating the unicorn meat. Hitler was a vegan and did not smoke, although
Yeah.
I've heard that he shot meth because he got fucking crazy. But just funny that he's like, no, 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 I'm not trying to portray Hitler in any sort of way. Fuck that guy. Nobody should care about that guy. I'm just playing this role.
Well,
Just phenomenal.
and speaking to that, the opening scene is brilliant.
Do
I
we
mean,
want to talk about him, or are we going to talk about other stuff?
well, no, I mean, we talk about how that portrayed
Because I want to
it.
know.
It set the scene for the whole friggin' movie in the first friggin' 2.5 minutes
Yep.
before they
I'm
do the little
actually
montage of him running off to camp. The whole friggin' imaginary Nazi. I thought it was his dad. I didn't
Right.
realize it was imaginary
That's
Nazi until later. Like I thought that was his dad, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is just some friggin' lame ass."
Well, that's who he's supposed to be almost. He's imagining this larger than life character that's everywhere in the news and the propaganda, and he's the future of the country, and he's
Right,
taking his place of the father figure, and he's imagining what a father might say, but instead of his father, it's Hitler. Yeah,
right. It is imaginary friends. Yeah, yeah. No,
right.
it's just it's well done. I'm
so
gonna have to raise my grade.
with. Thank you. God damn it.
Fuck
Also,
yeah.
you were like, this movie can't be an A+, so it's a B because Scarlett Johansson isn't perfect. You're both raising your grade by the end of this. Anyways,
We'll see. I don't know.
uh,
I got some pretty good notes.
Taika Waititi, best roles. I was really trying to decide on this, and I couldn't. And I don't know if Ben or if Joe even like knows the other roles
Nope,
because he doesn't watch
not even
movies.
close.
But
Nope.
Ben,
Yeah.
do you like him more in this as Korg or in They Come in Shadows? Is it What We Do
What
in
We Do in the
Shadows?
Shadows. So he
What,
co-wrote What We Do in the Shadows. So just fucking smart guy. Uh Korg is really funny in Ragnarok. I feel like in Endgame, it's kind of it's a good character, but it's definitely not my favorite. No, I feel like honestly, this role, although I do love him in What We Do in the Shadows, he's pitch perfect as when he's
you're
crazy.
right.
He's gonna get us all killed, dude. The acting and just delivering that line is so good. No, this is for sure
When they're
acting wise my favorite. I'll
when they're
give
at
it
the
up as a
dinner table,
director. He gave us Ragnarok.
he did
Uh,
give us Ragnarok. I would also argue like Ragnarok without Korg,
right?
maybe not a good movie. But with
No, it's
Korg,
still a good movie, but
I mean like decent movie. Korg
right.
makes that movie for me. I want to be him in a D&D campaign. And and What We Do in Shadows, I haven't seen it in a while. But I remember when I watched it, I felt like it was the most like when they find the werewolf gang. What? Holy
Right.
shit, that was so funny.
Yeah, the
And
fact that his whole character arc is finding this now 98-year-old woman he used to love, and he's gonna turn her into a. Oh my god, dude, that movie is so good. The show is awesome as well, but damn, that
Joe
movie is
would
good.
give it a C- or D+, but that movie
Right,
is
right.
amazing.
It's got laughs in
Um,
it, so nobody
I
wants
think I
that.
have to agree with you, and like I just give it the slight edge to just acting out Hitler in general. You don't get to make it up. You're playing Hitler, and he's a really shitty, larger than life character. You know, like
Hmm.
he will be remembered for the end of human history.
Yep,
And this guy
as one of
comes
the.
on screen and makes
Hmm.
us all laugh at his dumbass, and it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And
Dude, he
I
keeps
think it's
offering
probably
him
his best.
cigarettes. So I was like, holy shit, what a funny
It
fucking gag.
he did it was a perfect representation of what an
Um,
11-year-old
Would
in
think.
Nazi Germany would have
Yeah.
envisioned
yeah,
Hitler
I
as. I
agree.
mean, it
I,
was perfect.
and
One of
again,
my
we talked about it a little bit at the top. All the throwaway lines that just you catch it out of the you barely catch it getting thrown out there, and you're like, holy shit, that's hilarious what they just said. Like he was able to pack all that stuff in, and just the fact that doing research found out that like Germany was hugely influenced by fashion, was very vibrant. And so he was like, a lot of World War II movies portray this dark and dingy, like I think a Downfall, how everything
Right.
is gray. Of course, that's during the fall of the Reich, but so is this. And everything is still when fucking Sam Rockwell
Sam
is
Rockwell's
got the
final
red
outfit.
flowing,
Fuck yes,
dude,
dude. Fuck
dude,
yes.
so
It's
good.
it's
And
the
it's
it's
like, yeah,
the real
everything's
life
falling around him, but they're like, I'm gonna look good doing it.
it's
Smart,
the real life
smart.
embodiment of his illustration, dude. That shit was freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And then Theon Greyjoy doesn't get much. What's his real name? Alfie Allen. Every time I see him, I'm like, it's Theon Greyjoy. What do you know? But
dude, he gets his
they're
dick cut off.
yeah, he does.
Do you think
It
the
becomes
Jews took
Reek.
it and used it as earplugs?
Quite possible.
Hey,
Again, yeah,
we
the
we
throwaway
ethically
lines.
source all of our
Uh,
earplugs from
That
Jewish
was one of my
so
circumcision.
favorite
even him
lines
in
that I
this,
had written down was the rabbis take penises and use them as earplugs.
Yeah.
Come
Yep.
on.
I actually texted Ben that. We ethically source
Tell
all of
your
our
story, Ben. I'm
earplug
sorry for
material.
cutting you off so much.
Oh, it's all
It's not.
good. I'm enjoying the conversation. So Thomas and McKenzie, the major serious role in this, also the lead in Last Night in Soho. Hit the button, watch our review. Uh, Taika told her watch Heathers for the kind of vibe he wanted the character to have, and I thought, what a smart idea. Like she's kind of depressed, but instead of say Beetlejuice, where Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice is much more like over the top melodramatic, and Heather, she's really believable as this kind of depressed teenager until, Christian Slater comes along. Really
Goth emo
interesting.
teen.
Anyway,
Oh, wait, talking about her for a second, I don't think I covered this in Last Night in Soho. Her roles, like I've seen her in 3 movies now, all within the last 12 months. And I never knew who she was before that. So Last Night in Soho, I would say that's her best role. This was a good one as well. But I my first movie that I saw in theaters coming back from COVID being the worst thing in the world was Old by M. Night Shyamalan. Did you guys see it?
fuck no, I'm not gonna watch that movie.
I think I
Well,
watched it in the background. That was the one where they're on the beach and they all,
Yep.
yeah, so
yeah,
they're on an island that, like, spoilers, it just ages them very quickly, and that's why it's called Old.
right.
And she's like a 6-year-old girl, and then all of a sudden it's Thomas and Mackenzie walking around in a bathing suit. And anyways, that movie sucks. That's the only reason I wanted to talk about her.
Okay, great, great. Bring up a shitty movie. Right on,
Good to
Russ.
know. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, let's
That's
talk.
how I left COVID for the theaters. That just
Wow.
take pity on me.
I'm sorry for you. That's a horrible story.
Trying to think
Yeah.
what mine was. I wanted to see Tenet and I never saw it. There was that whole period where it was Black Widow. That's what it was. Worth it. That's a great Scarlett Johansson movie. Anyway,
Right.
for dude, that movie's fucking really good. Uh, who's your favorite character, and then who's your favorite actor? In this movie, is it the same person?
Go ahead, Russ.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Sam Rockwell. He's
I,
just great. I mean,
dude,
I
so
would
good.
give it a she's nowhere near my favorite actress, but Rebel Wilson as a character in this movie, like, she makes me laugh so much. And she's kind of hit or miss normally, but she nails it in this role.
100% agree. I'm going to go ahead and jump to that. Joe, we'll circle back to you. 3 roles that I really enjoy her in. Only 3 out of all of them. Sometimes I feel like she's too much. But Bridesmaids as the roommate who gets the tequila fucking worm tattoo on her back.
Dude, Bridesmaids, I feel like Bridesmaids only came out because The Hangover came out, but and I went into it going like, this is gonna be lame, just because. I'm not gonna say why, but it was awesome. It was really
Dude,
funny.
really, really great. This movie, probably my favorite role for her. But then there's a really great episode of a show called Travel Man, which has an English actor named Richard Ayoade who travels around to places, has a bunch of comedian friends go with him. It's really good. Her episode with him, she buys him like a fucking $200 glass at the end of it. It's really sweet. Anyway, Joe, who's your favorite
Wait,
character and or
before we
actor?
go to Joe,
Fuck me,
my
right.
favorite line that she says in this movie, and I had to write it down because it was a little bit longer, but a Jew hypnotized my uncle, and he became a drunk and a gambler, and he had an inappropriate relationship with my sister, and then he drowned, but it was the Jew's fault. Like, It was just so in
Yes.
depth and in the moment, like it was great.
I
Again, a
gotta
highlight
admit, dude,
highlight
I
of it being
can't
from an
rate
11-year-old's
anything higher
perspective.
than I've had 18 children for Germany. What a wonderful year to be a girl is so fucking funny. So funny. All right, Joe. Wait, before we get to Joe, no, I just thought we'd keep it up. That'd be
No,
funny.
no, that
What
works.
about you? Favorite character?
I mean, it's Sam Rockwell all day
Yeah.
long. I mean, yeah, as soon as they like after the opening scene, which really sets the stage, and then they get to the Nazi camp, and he fortifies the direction that the movie's going. Yeah, he's the underlying. He's like, all right, guys, hey, this is in your face, this is in your face, but hey, here's what's really going on.
Yeah.
And oh,
And
I
he
got
starts shooting
demoted,
things.
and he gets he gets kneed in the nuts. Oh, I got demoted for blowing your son up.
Yeah.
And then they're training for underwater assault in case they ever need to go to
Right.
war in a pool.
They're drowning.
and and then and
Oh.
then ultimately, the final scene, that move
Yeah, his
was
redemption at the end is whew,
powerful,
yeah. I remember
hugely
watching this in the
powerful.
theaters, watching in the theaters, realizing what he was going to do. And then when he does it, I was like, oh my God, I'm choking up. This is so good.
It's
Like he's
but
Dude,
it's not even
absolutely
that.
about to be marched off.
It's not just that one scene. It's when he checks the identification on Thomason McKenzie.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
right,
And goes with the lie. Yep.
right.
yeah.
Like, but that I
Yeah.
feel like that's just the tee up for the closing scene. Like
Yeah, but
that's just the setup so that when the closing scene comes around, you're like, this guy knows. This guy knows. Like, if he'd actually been a genuine 11-year-old Nazi, Sam Rockwell would have been like, oh yeah, no, you deserve to be with us here.
Right.
But
He
yeah,
he
recognized.
knew,
Yeah. Yeah.
he knew,
So good.
and the way it was acted, like it's probably easily my now favorite Sam Rockwell role.
yeah,
It's
this is
it's
my
up
favorite
there.
Sam Rockwell role.
It's up
Because
there.
his acting in that final scene, it's all in his face.
It
And it is just it's Oscar worthy. That little 2-minute clip made the whole fucking movie for me.
Yeah.
I think I said
And
it
I
during the
know
last
I
one.
brought it up last time. Sorry, I'm just going to steamroll this real quick. I know I brought it up in our last show, Galaxy Quest. Hit the button, boom. Sam Rockwell. I highly recommend, and I wrote it down this time. Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri is a really
Oh yeah.
fucking great drama, and he is really great in it. You start out hating him, and by the end, you're like, this guy, the character arc he's got in that movie, really great movie, really great. Anyway,
I He's great as Justin Hammer too. Just as the counterpart to Tony Stark. He's like
take his
this
shoes.
kind of the kind of shit. Yeah, take his shoes, take his pillows. I took your
Yeah,
stuff. I said this on
yeah,
the last episode, but I
we
love
did.
him at trying to be a villain, just
Uh-huh.
trying to be the bad guy and just always looking like an idiot when he does it. He
Yeah,
was
but I
great.
feel
I
like that role
really,
it's too on the nose. Like it's a patsy role. He does it
I don't know.
well,
I love
but
every
it's a
time I see
patsy
him on the
role.
screen. Every
I've
time I see
always
him on the
liked him.
screen,
I've
I'm like,
always
oh,
liked
this is
him.
going to be
Yeah.
good. Yep.
Hey, if you guys had to guess, how much would you say his net worth was?
I don't know, $20, $30.
208 million.
208 million? That's like fucking Tom Hanks level.
No,
You don't know
I don't know.
anything about money.
I don't track this shit. I don't worry about
Uh
anybody
I don't know
else's money.
anything about money.
30
Uh,
million.
I'm too busy
30
worried
30
about
million.
million.
my money.
Which I was pretty
Good for you.
surprised by because like he's a very B-list. He's never been the main character in a
Nah, but
movie.
Sam Rockwell's
But
cult.
I feel
Sam
like
Rockwell's got a cult following.
now the Confessions of where he plays Chuck Barris from the Gong Show, he's the lead in that, does really well.
You don't even
But
know what you're
one of the
talking. Like
things
you
that's
couldn't even
so
say the
great
full
about
thing.
him, huh?
Confessions of, where he's the you. If it was a major role, you would have been able to remember the whole title.
Well, I can't remember if it's like a professional killer or whatever it's supposed to be, but it's Chuck Barris is a really interesting dude. You don't know if anything of that shit's real, and he plays the main role in that. Anyway, every time you see him, he's a really great co-star. I think
Yes.
he's can stand on his own every time, but elevates everything around him. Anyway, Sam Rockwell,
No, no,
fantastic.
he makes every performance that happens on his screen better.
Yep.
You know,
I would
I mean,
agree.
I think it's an underrated role in Hollywood of a solid supporting actor. Like people, you know, I feel like for years, and maybe it's my own perception, I've looked down at a supporting actor, but to have an actor that can come on the screen with you and give you the energy that you need to be what you need to be in that scene. That's what Hollywood's all fucking about, dude. And for somebody that just solidly puts in the assist, he's top notch. Like he's the top
That's
of the
I
right.
mean,
game.
I
Every
can,
Frodo needs their
as
Sam.
as someone,
Ah,
that's true for sure.
that's fucking beautiful, baby. I got
I
a tear.
I don't know how much this reflects in your guys' work. Probably not so much as Joe, because he's a little more one man show. But for me, I am as successful as my like next level down. My management staff is actually managing everybody and doing all the work. Like, I've got a shitty layer there. It's just
What?
I need a good number two.
What?
I love a good number two. It's the best way to start the day.
everybody needs a Riker.
That's right.
Everyone needs a good
Honorable
record.
mention Stephen Merchant as the Gestapo. Perfect
Dude,
in his creepiness. Perfect.
love that
Oh,
scene. Love
this
that
is an
scene.
8-year-old boy's room.
He whenever
Is he only 8? I keep saying 11, but is he only 8? I don't know how old he is.
What?
whenever I see
I don't know.
him, I pretty much only think of him in this role, and I was wondering
Really?
why. Well, like not this role, but this type of role, and I was wondering why, and I had to look up why, and I only think of him in this role in Logan. Like, I don't
Right?
really
Caliban.
pay attention to what else he does.
Well, he helped create The Office. He is one of the co-creators of The Office.
Well,
Also,
right stuff.
if you haven't seen it and you have HBO Max, which I know you do, look up Life is Short. It's with Warwick Davis, and it's written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. And there is a wonderful scene where Liam Neeson wants to get into a comedic role. And so he comes in and he tries to be funny with Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. And it is so fucking hilarious how bad he is. I don't know. I know a bunch about Stephen Merchant, but
I,
not everybody
re-
does.
I really liked his role. Again, emphasizing my point, my argument that I've made for the whole movie is how brilliantly it's done from a child's perspective.
Well,
You know, that moment when the Jewish girl comes out and acts, you know, I mean, it's so much unspoken acting in that scene.
a little Jewish Jesse Owens.
Dude,
I've
dude,
So fucking
like
funny.
almost all of the running commentary in that entire scene, I was just like, oh, okay, they really they went for it. All right,
Yep.
all right.
Dude, Bill Burr
They're
does
flipping through
a
the book.
uh
Through the
yeah.
book. Oh, they're breeding with pigs. Ah, yes, I've heard about this.
Right. It's funny because it's true. Dude, Bill Burr has a great bit about Jesse Owens at the Olympics and the car ride home with Hitler after Hitler left because Jesse Owens was winning all the fucking medals. So good. So good. It's funny. I was doing research and I actually thought of this when I was thinking about the movie. Like, I brought it up on the show before. What episode? I can't tell you. But Hope and Glory is kind of similar to this. It's from the a British boy's point of view about World War II. Definitely not as funny, not as satirical, but a really great movie, worth a watch. Hope and Glory. Give it a watch. And then my final thing that I really loved is kind of a cherry on top is once once Berlin is taken, or they're not even in Berlin really, but once the Allies come in, the portrayal of the Americans just ripping around in their jeeps with the flags, be like, "Whoa!" So funny,
Yeah, that
so
was
good.
great. I personally really liked the closing scene. Well, what do we do now? And
Oh, and they dance. Oh, and they
unspoken,
fucking.
they break into the dance, dude. I was like,
Oh,
oh, there it is. That's the final. That's how this actually looked and felt to a child, coming up in that environment. It's like you literally lived in the walls of my house in fear for your life, and now we're dancing in the street.
My face is a goddamn street map, woman.
What?
That's what he
yeah, when
says to
he's
his
doing, when
mom.
he's talking shit to his mom at the table. That's so fucking harsh. And
I realized
honestly, that's a really good moment where she should be like, "You little shit, you're not going to any more of these things." But she knows she can't because you cannot be
All he's
seen
got to
as
do is pick up the
anti-party.
phone, dude. They got the scene where he
Yep.
looks at the phone. He
Looks at the
thinks
phone.
about it.
Ugh,
He thinks about it. As much as this
this
kid
movie's fucking
loves
great.
his
All right,
mom,
Russ,
so. Wait a minute.
you're justified. This is an A. I
I'll give
recommend
it.
this to
I get A.
anybody.
Yeah.
Watch this movie. It's a
Holy
fucking A.
shit! Hey, that's
Yep,
the biggest flip we've ever had on the show.
ever
Hey,
done.
I
Yeah, no, this movie's so well done. If you've made
that
it this
ties
far,
into.
sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I got more
Yeah.
things to say. I know we've gone long, but
Oh,
let's do it.
I had a really great
Let's
closer.
do it.
So yeah, just fuck
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Okay.
save that shit.
It's
Save it.
Russ. It's Russ.
We're gonna go
Wait,
on to
wait,
this
wait,
episode.
wait.
So 2020, we've done this before, but one of the reason I had watched Jojo Rabbit before is when we did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it was nominated for Best Picture. And a lot of movies that we have either talked about or have seen before at this point were nominated or won. And I kind of wanted to ask you guys, especially Joe, now that he's seen this and has seen a little more movies, the movies that were nominated. Can I go through them real quick? Yeah, I'm going to.
A little more movies.
1917.
Like I don't fucking turn on a TV.
No,
You fucking
1917.
like I got
Once upon
cable
a
TV or some shit.
Shut up, Joe. 1917. Once upon a time in Hollywood. This movie, Joker. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
I've seen all four of those so far.
Okay.
Right.
Also, The Irishman, Parasite, Ford versus Ferrari, Little Women, and Marriage Story. Which one do you think deserved Best Picture?
I haven't seen two and a half of those.
Same.
So, but I really want to watch Marriage Story, and at the same time, I really don't want to watch Marriage Story. But
I really liked Ford versus Ferrari.
Are the wait? Can
yeah,
I
me
guess?
too.
Are the
Really
two and a
good.
half are the 2.5 Little Women, Marriage Story, and The Irishman is the half?
Yes.
I knew it.
Same.
Yep.
Same.
So
That's a long
best
movie. I
movie.
get it.
Honestly, I'd probably go with this one. Out of everything you just named, I feel like this, I remember before you talking about your least favorite way to do the show is watching the movie right before the show. I watched it a day ago and I feel like it's really been kind of resonating with me. So much so that tonight I really thought about my mom a lot. And this movie just hits on so many levels. I would say this is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't give it to this movie. I give it to 1917. I think that's my favorite. But
Yeah, but you like watching guys get crushed under fucking tank treads.
Yeah,
in the
it's
trench.
true.
I mean,
Yeah, it's all quiet on the Western
this
Front.
movie,
yeah.
This movie is my number 2, and it's so close. And I just feel like it's so hard to give it to a comedy as like Best Picture. This is the highest I would ever give a comedy that I can think of. as far as being considered for Best Picture. It's definitely up there. Joker, I definitely give Best Actor to, but 1917 and this movie are my favorite movies.
No, I'd be hard pressed. 1917, Ford versus Ferrari. Ford versus Ferrari's got some great acting in it, and
Yeah,
an
Christian Bale is
incredibly,
amazing in that.
yeah, an incredibly compelling story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Man, 1917 was really good, though. I mean, you'd have to break it down into categories, but I mean, if I had to pick one, having just watched this one and looking at the depth and breadth,
No.
yeah, that's right, depth, breadth, width, whatever, of
Length.
this movie, how much it covers, girth, um, how much it stretches
Height.
out your understanding of the situation. Uh,
Circumference.
all of those things. Yeah, I would give it to this movie. I came up a full letter grade. As we've
So
talked about
wait,
it, this movie's a real tour de force. It really is. It's exceptionally well written. It's intelligently scripted. If you can keep in mind that it's all shot, told, and understood from a child's perspective, living in the Nazi Germany as that regime is coming to its end, it's incredibly compelling to watch a movie that's this fun against that atrocious of a backdrop. Like,
yeah,
kudos to these guys.
yeah.
They really brought out all the stops.
Yeah, I agree. You guys came up with full letter grade. I said in the beginning, I don't know why I don't give this movie an A plus. I give it an A plus. There's nothing. I would literally change nothing about it. I really like everything about it. It's amazing. I think I'd have to choose. It'd be based on mood between this movie and 1917. Parasite's the movie that won though, and I really don't think it deserved it. I would give it
No, hell
to
no, not against this
multiple other
backdrop.
No,
movies.
Not against this
but good
I think the
backdrop.
movie.
reason it won is because it was foreign.
Yeah, I agree.
It is a good
I
movie.
agree.
I think it was just foreign and like it got that PC culture kind of. Anyways,
Yep.
let's not talk too
And
much about that. But there was one other thing I wanted to talk about.
One more.
Oh, good.
One more.
One more.
Is it
This
Foreigners Cold
movie
as Ice?
starts.
Let's go.
This movie starts with this song, "Komm, gib mir dein Hand." Komm
Yep,
mit
Beatles.
dir dein Hand. Komm
Mhm.
mit dir dein Hand.
Right.
It's a Beatles cover in German, and I felt
It's
as
not a
I'm
cover.
watching it, I'm like,
No, it's not a
Not a
cover. They
cover.
released it in
They-
German.
they released
Yeah,
it
they
in
were like,
German.
we're gonna
released it in
change it
German.
over to German, and the Beatles were like, why don't we just record it in German then for Germany? And they did. They
Yeah.
totally sang that. That's
And-
100% the Beatles.
Yeah.
And you know what? It works. It's one of the, like, as I'm watching it, it's one of those languages where as it translates, every word fits into the song in the same like
Dude,
tempo and
Yeah,
enunciation.
the German Roy Orbison song is also
Dude, and
beautiful when he puts it in
and
there.
even more importantly, it sets the tone for the movie. This is
Mhm.
a child
Oh, dude,
in Nazi
the
Germany. He
joyfulness
can
of the
listen.
beginning.
Yeah. No, I mean
When he goes out of the house
sets,
all crazy,
and
and
the
then he's
fact
like,
that it's
"Fuck yeah!"
and the fact that it's the Beatles in German against this
Yep.
backdrop. I mean, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
y'all just
Soundtrack
playing with
was
my emotions.
badass.
Yeah, and for the
But
record, I came up like 4-letter grades. I went from like a B
You did,
minus
you
to
did.
an A. Just
you
saying.
guys both came up a lot. I only did a little bit. But so when I did that, I did a little bit of research for best opening song. I don't expect you guys to come prepared for this question, so I did the research for you. And the best ones I could find were actually the first two that popped up are movies we've already done. So Watchmen, The Times They Are Changing, Bob Dylan.
Yep.
That was probably my second favorite. This is my favorite, but that was my second favorite. Joe versus the volcano, 16 tons.
16 tons.
Such a good intro. It does really set the tone. for what he's about to go
Fuck.
through.
Fuck yeah.
The other ones I'll go through quickly, but 2004's Dawn of the Dead, The Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I love that.
It's very fitting.
Yep.
Gross Point Blank, I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Apocalypse Now, The End by The Doors.
Yep.
And
Does this
The
list have an
Departed.
end?
Yeah, The
There we go.
Departed is the last one. Gimme Shelter, Rolling Stones.
All right.
Which I think is the movie
did I
Martin
miss
Scorsese
anything?
has put into the most. He's used that song the most times in all of his movies. Anyway,
Gimme Shelter comes up a lot, yeah. The last things I wanted to say were just quotes. You guys got anything else?
no, go ahead and give me your quote before we like and subscribe.
It's a Mexican stalemate. It's just a normal
It's a regular stalemate.
And share. Share
this shit. France is cheese, snail, and baguette land.
Yes. Oh my god, when he says that, it's so fucking funny.
And then my last one, it's not actually a quote, but the German Shepherds, that was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yes.
And did you catch that when they were doing the final battle scene that it was the German,
Shepherds were there? Yeah.
were the attack dogs that were released when the other lady you guys were talking about shoots everything that moves.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
That was great.
That's all
Great
I wanted
fucking
to say.
movie.
I really like this movie.
Yeah, highly recommend. If you made it this far and you haven't decided to watch this movie yet, you're an idiot. But for now,
yeah, fuck
go
you.
out, put on David Bowie's Heroes, drink a glass of red wine, and if you're lucky enough, call your mother. And if you're not, raise your glass.